Let's go.
Welcome back to the Superman podcast. Lionel, welcome, mate. Been a
Thanks.
while.
Yeah, it has been a while actually. It's been a while since we recorded the session, so keen to jump in for this session, mate. I have been wanting for this session for a while. I've been
Do
hounding
you,
this bloke
do you
on.
want to introduce our special guest
Nah,
today?
you're the introducer, so you hit it.
All right. Today's guest is what you get when you mix a financial planning wizard with a TikTok influencer, add a sprinkle of Melbourne charm, and fuel it with protein shakes and compound interest. That's right. Joining us today is none other than James Wrigley, principal at First Financial, social media superstar, and the man who's turning FinTok into the hottest channel since cat videos. Welcome, James.
How's that for an introduction?
Mate,
Can we do this over again? I can say that again. That was amazing.
mate, he is the
Thank you for being
introducer
here.
of all introducers, but
I know.
James Wrigley, welcome on board the Superman podcast, mate.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for jumping on and having a session with us today. I know Matt, I've been persistent in this case for a long time.
I know you have. You have promised a lot, Lionel. So
We
it's
have.
good to have the man on.
No,
We
it's
lined it
great to
up,
have.
but it was a while ago that we organised the time, so it was been a bit of a build up coming, but yeah, good to be here with you guys.
That just like shows this year at the moment. It's just flying by. It's May already. It's crazy. I think I spoke to you early in the year. I said, mate, this year we got to jump on for a podcast.
Yeah.
Speak to the #1 TikToker in finfluencing. Is that what you go by?
Nah, don't tell Ben Nash that. He's still got the one followed advisor or whatever it is his thing on
Mate,
Instagram there.
You're catching him quickly.
I passed him for a brief minute, and I didn't say anything about it. But I got I got a few. I got to 100,000 followers on Instagram before he did, and I put up some post about that, and I had some DMs from these people. I don't know, just people following me saying, "Now you can tell Ben to change his thing that he's not the most followed." He's since passed me again.
Oh, geez. Well,
Anyway.
hopefully with this Superman podcast, you might surpass him again
I might.
with the thousands of followers that we have. So, but yeah, James, a lot of our listeners are just run of the mill Aussies trying to do their best, listening some information along the way. They they listen to it on dog walks and this and that. And I think we're privileged to have you on today and just speak about pretty much your journey, really. Our advice channel here, our podcast channel, is just to help people understand more about personal finances and giving you to give your 2 cents in. And but first, for the listeners, if you don't know who James Wrigley is, jump onto his Instagram and his TikTok, where he's famously known for, and he's been at it for a long time. James, tell us your story into financial planning and your story growing up.
Yep. So much like you guys, like the bulk of the clients that I work with, just kind of average the people next door. Like I know you do a lot within the farming communities and so forth, Lionel, but they're just the average person next door that's had a decent job and paid off their house and heading to a nice comfortable retirement. Sure, there's some people with lots of money and big incomes and those kind of things, but by and large they're pretty average comfortable retirees in Australia. My kind of journey in financial advice, I'm up to about 17, 18 years or so here in First Financial, the business that I work in. Different names and ownership structures and things along the way, but the same business of sorts and a lot of clients for that length of time and beyond from before I even started here. Like a lot of people in financial advice, I just kind of ended up in financial advice. The first job I had out of uni ended up being offshored to a team in India, and my last responsibility there all these years ago now was to train the offshore team in India on how to do my job. So I kind of trained them out of a job, and I did myself out of a job. Ended up getting a job. I ended up getting a job working in client services, administration type role in financial advice. It was a recruitment agent actually that kind of pointed me sort of in that direction. When I first started looking around, she'd said to me, "Oh, well, what have you done? What other studies have you done other than your university degree?" And at that point, I'm like, "Well, I've got my uni degree. Surely I can just get a job. Isn't that everything?" And I didn't know there was this extra education and Kaplan courses and all of this type of stuff that, that's our life in financial advice these days. So started a course there, ended up entry-level financial advice role in client services. Did that for a few years, became an associate advisor for a few years, promoted to be an advisor. I did that for a while, senior advisor, so forth. And I'm now a part owner of the business that I work in. So 17 odd years later.
Congratulations, mate. That's
Yeah,
very good.
bit of a path there. Yeah.
So you've been 16, 17 years in. What's kept you hooked into financial planning?
In the early days, like my mind was blown about the strategies and the way that
Yeah.
we're helping people and stuff. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. Like I couldn't get enough of it. You know, my manager and the advisor that I reported to for most of that time, a guy by the name of Ben Rossi, who's only relatively recently retired. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I like, how do people have this much money in the first place? Like, I was, someone's got $600,000 in retirement savings. Here I am, like 21 years old, 22 years old. I'm like, what the hell? Where does even this money even come from? And it's kind of then evolved all these strategies around pensions and retirement and recontributions, and I did a lot of in the early days, a lot of really specialist SMSF advice work, and we would get a lot of referrals in from accounting firms that had SMSF divisions and had financial advisors, but their financial advisors couldn't deal with certain things, and so we were getting a lot of really complicated stuff, which I'm a real numbers detail type person, and so that really stimulated my mind with those kind of things. And then more recently, it's been in more recent years, I went through a period of time where I got a lot of satisfaction out of helping develop and grow some of the junior people coming through that are, going through professional year that we have to go through now. And then more recently, it's actually been the social media type stuff, like the opportunity I just get to talk to so many different people now, and a portion of them become advice clients and go on to pay fees and so forth. But whether it's through interactions we have online, responding to comments and questions, all the phone calls that get booked in, all of this kind of stuff, I now just get to talk to such a wide variety of people that I feel like I'm constantly learning and building this knowledge bank of this is the challenge people have and this is the questions that they're asking and so forth, that are at a much bigger scale than I ever used to be able to with, working with 80 or 100, individual clients on a one-on-one basis.
Yeah, that's crazy to think where your influencer journey or your social media journey started. What was the first thought back then when you first did your first post?
Yeah.
What was your thought and what were your feelings like at that point in time?
The reason I got into it in the first place was from a business development perspective. That was the whole reason for it in the beginning. It's morphed well and truly beyond that now. But in the very, very beginning, I'm like, well, I'd had a really good relationship with an accountant, and I thought, well, what happens if this accountant doesn't like me anymore for some reason, or he finds someone else that he likes better? And I stopped getting introduced to a lot of his clients that I was doing a lot of work with. Wouldn't it be great if people came to me because they wanted to work with me, not because an accountant said you should go and talk to James? And I'm like, oh, there's this thing called the internet. And I was following Gary Vee. I still do, but following Gary Vee pretty religiously a number of years back. I'm like, oh, I'll just start putting stuff on the internet. And in the beginning, I was just writing things on LinkedIn, written posts, and then some photos and things. Then because I was quite active on LinkedIn, they gave me early access to posting native video on LinkedIn. Up until that point, you couldn't put a video on LinkedIn. You had to put like a YouTube link or something. I'm like, here we go. Here's my opportunity. Like no one else in Australia, or certainly no one else in financial advice in Australia, has this opportunity. I'm just going to start to do some videos. And my first videos were absolutely atrocious, but I've done thousands of them now, and I think they're half decent. I've found a bit of a knack in drawing some pictures with my kids' coloured texters, and people love that. And I can explain a topic. It's the stuff that I'd be doing on a whiteboard in a meeting room where I am now. And it's just kind of grown and grown and grown. So it was years ago, it was LinkedIn, but then maybe 3 years or so ago now, TikTok really took off, and my page on TikTok just did nothing for a long while. And then one Christmas time, it just went from like 300 followers to 3,000 to 10,000 to 30,000.
Blowing up.
A really short period of time. And it's just continued to grow from there.
Yeah, wow. And how have you dealt with the success? Like, have you Are you now like a guy that walks around the street? Yeah, you're the TikTok guy, or is it like because you are getting recognized now by a number of different people?
Yeah, you do get
Yeah,
recognised a little bit, yeah, in different locations. The first time it happened was strange. I was at the High Point, it's a large local shopping centre to where I live, and I was going up an escalator, and there was this lady with a young daughter coming down, and we kind of went past each other on the escalator, and then everyone going, "You're that guy," and I'm looking around going, "Who's that guy? Like, who's she talking to? Is there someone here that I'm supposed to know?" And then she's like, "No, that's you. You post those videos on TikTok." I'm like, "Oh yeah, that is me." So that was the first time, and then it happens every now and then, but it's just nice. You go, I'm a reserved person. I'm not an out there person. I hate, going to big networking events or anything like that. But it is nice when someone comes up and says, "Oh, "Hey, I've been watching your videos. They're really helpful." Blah 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 blah. Get to have a bit of a chat with someone and meet someone. It's nice. I enjoy it.
That's awesome. Has there been any? What's the weirdest DM you've got then coming through? Now you've been doing it for a few years, and
Actually,
you would have seen some comments come through, right?
this is a funny story that you guys will like. So I had I had a DM from someone on Instagram, I think it was. This guy runs a dog washing business, and he goes, in his message, he said, "Look, there's a lot of cash coming through. What should I be doing with the cash?" And I responded back. I said, "Mate, like, you're supposed to report the income you're earning. It doesn't matter whether it's cash or not. You're supposed to be reporting it in your tax return. Nothing I can help you do with, all this cash that you've got." Anyway, a colleague of mine was over in America on a basketball tour, going around watching all of these different things. He's at some bar in a rooftop in New York, and this guy gets to chatting. Turns out they're both Aussies, blah, 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 blah. "Oh, yeah, there's this financial advisor I follow on Instagram. I got all this money from my business. He told me I have to report it." Like, that's not what I wanted. I wanted something more. And it turns out it was one of the advisors here was at this bar in New York. And I've worked with this advisor. Like, this advisor, he's been here for longer than I have. So I've worked here for like 17 years, but he's on the other side of the world. Some random guy he's bumped into at a bar
A dog washer.
and it was me that he goes, "Yeah, there's this guy on Instagram. I follow him." And the advisor, he goes, It's not James, is it?" It's like, "Yeah, James, that's his name. Oh, yeah, I've worked with him." Anyway, goes on to tell him the whole story. And then the advisor, he's like, "Well, yeah, what do you want us to do with the safe full of cash that you've got at home that you haven't declared whilst you've been running your dog washing business? There's nothing we can do about that." Yeah,
Classic.
yeah.
That's a bizarre walks of life moment where the world's pretty small at some
It
point.
is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It reminds you how small things are.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was gonna say, like, what's the weirdest thing you've had requests, but have they started asking you for an OnlyFans page yet or not?
Nah, nothing on OnlyFans. The bit that's somewhat frightening and is all of the fake accounts. Like, it goes through waves.
Yeah.
Man, you get
We
hammered
had
with that.
Christmas, not the one just gone, the one before. I got a series of messages from some guy saying, "Hey James, how come you've stopped responding to my messages?" "Oh, what are you talking about?" Like, "This is the first message I've seen from you." And he's like, "No, no, no, this other account, you're not responding, blah, blah, blah." And turns out it was via TikTok. There was a fake account that someone had made, and there's tons of fake accounts for me and everyone else that's posting financial information on TikTok. There's tons of fake accounts. But he'd looped him into a crypto scam, and this guy put money in, pretending to be me, put money in, and then it was like, "Oh yeah, it's going really well. I'll put a bit more money in." And then it was like, "Oh, I'd like to get some of those profits back out again." "Oh yeah, to get your money back out, you need to maybe put a little bit more in, and then we'll pay it back out." And this is all over the space of like 2 or 3 weeks whilst we're closed over that kind of Christmas New Year period. And turns out he'd done several thousands of dollars, and this guy like didn't have the money. He could not afford to not have that $2,000 or $3,000. He was like broke. And yeah, fooled him into it. And so there's nothing I
Uh,
could do about it. It wasn't us. Report it to the police and all the rest of it. But that's
what
kind
is
of
the what
precise.
is that what is the deal with that now? Like, how does someone out there report on your behalf for you, or when you find someone like that?
So it's challenging on the likes of Facebook and Instagram and so forth. You can now pay for like that verification badge. You get that blue tick thing. And one, that makes it harder for people to duplicate your account and make a fake one because they're not going to have that blue thing. But a lot of people don't look for it. But it does make, on Facebook and Instagram, it does make them a whole lot faster to take down the fake accounts. So that happens really, really quickly. Whereas before I was paying that, and the only reason I started paying for that is I was getting tons of fake accounts on those two platforms as well. I just couldn't keep up. But the issue with TikTok is that they don't give you that verification badge. Doesn't matter. Like there's people I follow that have got north of 1 million followers on TikTok, and TikTok will still turn around and say, no, we're not going to give it to you. And so, and TikTok is absolutely atrocious for taking down these fake accounts. Like sometimes I'll just sit there for half an hour or so and I'll just report a whole bunch of fake accounts. 8 weeks later, TikTok might do something about it. And it's like, well, like it's to the point where I pretty much don't even bother trying to get the fake accounts taken down, because in the 8 weeks that I've reported them before TikTok actually does something, there's another 20 of them anyway. So you can just never stop it.
That's the scary part about our role, isn't it? Like the scamming and the money that people are getting scammed out of their hard-earned dollars these days is like explaining that to the older generation as well.
Yeah.
And like, I think I had a meeting with someone last week. I was back out in Burke, and this lady, she doesn't have a phone for starters. She uses her husband's phone. She doesn't use an email, and she does everything in cash. Pulls money out in cash in the bank, out of the bank, goes on holidays, and the bank's like, oh, she goes, oh, I want to pull out 20 grand. It goes, bank, you can't pull that much money out of the bank. She goes, it's my money. I want it. I'm going on a holiday. I need it. I don't have any debit cards, credit cards, and stuff like that. And I was thinking about it during the meeting. I'm like, you know what? Don't change.
Yeah.
Don't change the way that you're managing your money, because you've been able to save so much more money compared to going online shopping and having the temptation to buy shit. She only buys stuff when she's at the shops. She doesn't buy stuff on a phone. She doesn't get scammed. There's no one sending her emails trying to scam her of all the money. And like the old way was, in some sense, some of the safest ways.
It's so much easier to budget and those kind of things with that. You know, if she pulls out however much money she pulls out of the bank for, you know, her week or whatever, she's like, oh, you know, if I've only got $5 left, I can't buy this thing that's worth $10 because I've only got $5. Oh, well, I'll just live without it. But you know, we have this instant gratification kind of world that we live in now. It's so easy to just tap and go, and whether it's credit card or debit card or whatever, you pay no attention really to how much you might spend at the supermarket or whatnot. Whereas she would pay a whole lot more attention than the three of us would.
And she's not paying attention to all the fees that she's paying on all the transactions that she's doing every time. And so, yeah, no, there's a bit of a scary thing with scamming these days. How do you advise your clients in that space?
We just constantly, it's constantly, but regularly, like through our newsletter communications and things, we're always talking about cybersecurity and be careful of this and be careful of that. It's tough for the likes of that client that you're talking about now, you know, that really only deals with cash, because a lot of the product providers and the things that we want to start to use with these clients, super funds and pension funds and bank accounts and all the rest of it. Now, a lot of them are getting to a point where they're saying, well, bad luck if you don't do these things that we want, we just can't help you anymore. You know, like Macquarie's a classic one. I've got a check refund. I bought a car from Queensland that had Queensland Rego, had to change it over to Vic Rego. Queensland registration sends the refund in a check to my house. I only have a Macquarie bank account. Macquarie doesn't accept cash or checks or anything. So I've got a check.
Not anymore.
I got a check for like $180 that's just in the drawer at home. It's like, well, I can't do anything with it unless I go to Commonwealth Bank and then pay them $5 a month in a fee to have a bank with Commonwealth Bank. I'm stuck. And it's, you know, it's some of these product providers, it's not beat up Macquarie, but they're all heading in that direction. It does make it a bit tough for us to do the stuff that we want to try and do.
You should frame it and put it in a thing over behind you.
Yeah.
Say, this is the last check you'll ever
The last check I'll ever receive.
Yeah. So James, tell us, you're in the retirement space with retirement planning and stuff like that.
Yep.
What are the benefits and the values that you sort of, when you see a new client come on board, what are the sort of frustrations that you're helping them get through?
Yeah.
time?
I guess the first part is just trying to help them make sense of where they're at and with are they in a good position? Are they not? What are some of the quick wins and so forth? And I find more often than not the people that I'm talking to are in a better financial position than what they maybe realize that they are. Now we do this on a day-to-day basis, and so you can kind of see a set of someone's numbers and what their super fund balance is, and if they've got a mortgage on their own home or any of that kind of stuff. And so the first part is kind of helping them make sense of where they're at. Then depending on how close they might be to retirement, there's either some work with them on maybe trying to improve that situation if we've got a bit of a runway into retirement. But if they're coming in saying, hey, we retired yesterday, that we've got what we've got, well then most of the work and most of the value is helping them make best use of whatever it is that they do have. Centrelink benefits and starting pensions on super and putting money in one person's name versus the other. And there's a whole lot of different strategies and things, but it all just boils down to helping them make best use of what they've got to help them last as long as it can.
Yeah. And I found lately as well, when you've been dealing with someone for a long period of time, the conversations that you have around money is more about sort of giving them confidence to go and spend money. Do you have that conversation often? How often have you told someone in the last month to go and spend your own money in retirement?
Oh yeah, all the time. And I think it's a well-known, it's like this phenomenon thing in retirement. It's just people by and large just want to spend the interest that they earn on their money, not the money itself. And you can understand that from a perspective of this thing needs to last forever. What if I live for another 30 years? And that is true. But there's also an element of you can afford to spend a bit more. And I had a client that came in earlier today. Their minimum pension payments from their superannuation fund, they've got a bit of money. Their minimum pensions from their superannuation fund are about $120-something thousand a year. But they live off 80 something. So they take $7,000 a month. And so every year we're having conversations about you have to take an extra $40,000 out of your super fund to meet your minimum pension requirements. And so I'm having conversations with them all the time. And I just did today to say, look, do you want to bump up your monthly payment by an extra $500 a month or an extra $1,000 a month? Like you're going to have to take it anyway to comply with the minimum requirements of your super fund. Do you want to take more on a monthly basis or whatnot? And so they're taking the extra money and giving it away to their kids, really, is what they've been doing it more recently. So I think that the problem of trying to encourage people to spend a little bit more money, which is a really common thing, part of it's dealt with just the minimum pension requirements increasing over and over time, goes to 7% and 8% and beyond. If someone's still around in their 80s, there's a fair portion of their super fund they have to be drawing down, which forces it out of the super system. They either spend it, save it, or give it away. It's where they've got piles of other money in other structures or whatever, where they don't have those minimum drawdown requirements, that you might need to be encouraging to spend a bit more.
Now with Labor coming in as well for their second term, what's your view on this $3 million cap? What are you doing to get around it? What are you talking to your clients about? Is it going to come into play?
My guess, and it's just my guess, we're only 3 or 4 days into the election results, is my guess is it's a done deal now. There'll be enough support. They'll have enough control to be able to get it through. I think it got stuck before Christmas time on they couldn't get enough crossbench support. I don't think there's anyone in financial advice that is completely for it. Different people will have different views on how for it or against it they are. But I'm pretty sure it's a done deal now. The big issue that we all have with it is the tax on unrealized capital gains, and how do you deal with that in certain client circumstances if they've got lumpy assets, farms and commercial properties and these kind of things that get revalued over time. Where's the money supposed to come from to pay the unrealized capital gains tax bill if they don't have it sitting there in their super fund? So that's a tough position to be in for a lot of people.
Do you find it's going to be crippling as part of those assets, like those funds that are in that position, like because it's coming up with the cash to actually pay the tax then?
Potentially, yeah. So me personally, I don't have any clients individually that are like our clients are will be impacted by it, but not really any that have a really big lumpy asset, like a $10 million property in an $11 million self-managed super fund or something like that. My bigger clients that are in that space, it's mainly in equities and stuff anyway. So we can sell down a portion of it if we have to. But I think for the likes of them, they'll probably end up pulling the money out of the super system is where I think it will land. And that may be very well Labor's open plan with all of this, that it pulls a whole lot of money out of the super system into individual names and marginal tax rates and so forth. But for the wrong, if you've got a mix of assets that's heavily property based primarily, it's going to cause some headaches for people for sure.
Yeah, 100%. I've got a couple of people in that space, and we're trying to work around what we do with it now. So some of them are about touch over, depending on what the valuations of property are. But yeah, once they're hitting in their 60s now, so they can start pension and start ripping it out, and possibly moving it into like an investment bond or an education bond.
Taking it out, yeah. Marginal tax rates help the situation. So you don't go over 30% marginal tax rate unless you're earning $135,000 a year. And so that's a fair investment portfolio you're going to have in your own name to be generating north of $135,000 in income. And then if it's a couple and you can split the income between the two of you, 260, 270 grand. So you're talking millions of dollars worth of assets you're going to have in your own name before the marginal.
Probably more the capital gain side of things, isn't it? When they do sell that asset.
That's it. That's where it's going to push.
And you're going to push over those boundaries.
Yeah.
I just can't see how you undermine the superannuation system like this. And when everyone's starting to question super and things like that, and they're just throwing more fuel on the fire by doing things like this, we're pushing towards 12% super guarantee as well. And someone that's 2021, they're going to have $3 million by the time they're 60.
Yeah.
So you're just thinking, at the moment they're saying it's only rich people, but I think we're going to find it's going to be every Australian in 30, 40 years time.
Stage one of capturing more people is the couple that each have $1.8 million in their self-managed super fund, and they're sitting there today saying, we're right, we're fine, but you are today, but one of you's going to die, and then the other person will inherit it, and all of a sudden you go over 3 million. So the 80-something thousand people, I think, was what the numbers that they were quoting around the time. 80-something thousand people, and saying there's not that many people. Within 5 or 10 years, that's significantly higher because a lot of people have died, and so there's the inheritance. And then you take it a step further, as you're saying, Matt. The 20-something-year-olds, I'm hopefully have more than $3 million in super myself. I've been contributing to the maximum for ages, and will continue to do so. So that if you've got some problems down the track, hopefully with a long enough runway, there's some indexing or something happens to that cap. I'd be highly surprised. I'd love to be.
We're going to
I
need
hope I'm not wrong on this, but that they change the $3 million limit over the next 15 to 20 years. But who knows? You can't do that.
So probably staying on super, James, one of the things you do really well on social media is making the complex seem simple. Whether it's your Lego blocks that you're using, which are amazing, mate, they are so good, or your drawings and things like that. The one that I've got sent numerous times, because I've explained it on my whiteboard to clients, is the one you speak about, death taxes inside super.
Yes.
So if it gets passed to a non-financial dependent, do you want to explain that to us and how you went about it on social media in picking that topic to speak about as well?
Yeah. So the topic part's pretty easy. It's just things that I've spoken to a client about during the day or whatever. And I find the best kind of inspiration for doing a video is I've just wrapped up a meeting with someone. I'm like, I just discussed this thing. I think maybe other people might want to know about that particular topic. I just get the phone out, get the texters out, bang out a video, and it's done. So there's no more planning other than that than goes into the video. I think I've spoken to you, the client, and happy days. That That tax one, it's obviously something that we're all as financial advisors, particularly if you're in the retirement space, you're talking to your clients about all the time. And so
Yeah.
it's all to do with who may inherit your superannuation. The thing that a lot of people don't understand, that I'm understanding more and more now because of the videos that are put on, is people don't know who you can actually leave your money to as a beneficiary in the first place. So that's a whole education piece on its own. And whenever I do a video on that, the views just go through the roof because people complain that they can't leave it to someone that's not a cis dependent. But I don't make up the rules. The rules are the rules. And what we find is that it's on the beneficiary forms that everyone's signing who you can leave it to, but no one reads the form before they sign it. And then you take it a step further around the tax part. So firstly is who can you leave your superannuation to, and it's not everyone, but for most people they'll either want to leave their superannuation to their partner, or if they've got children, they'll want to leave it to their children. They're both fine. You can leave it to, and then depending on the age of the child that you're leaving it to, they may actually have to pay some tax on inheriting that money. And so there's a strategy that all of us as financial advisors will often look to implement, where you pull out some of the money from super when someone's got access to it and you put it back in again. It does away with this inheritance type tax that exists on super. And so I've done that video in a couple of different formats. I've done it using Lego blocks, so different color
Lego was the
blocks,
best.
and you pull it out and then you put it back in again, and it changes the color of the Lego blocks. But then the other one's kind of just drawing it on, I draw it on the whiteboard. If I was in a meeting room, I drew it on a piece of paper in the video you're referring to. But the same idea, where you've got different colors representing the different components, and you pull some money out and you put it back in again, and it changes the components, or it changes the color to try and essentially to try and save some tax that your adult children may pay on inheriting your super.
Yeah, no, it's a cracker video. I also like the one about the offsets.
Yeah.
Offset tax and savings. I explained that quite a bit. But Matty, I actually really know why James has started a TikTok account. You know why? For that green grass at the back.
Oh, the lawn porn.
He's a lawn porn king, and at the same time, he's after that what are the other Ryobi? Ryobi is
Ryobi.
Sponsorship.
Some freebies from Ryobi.
Quick shout out, James, for Ryobi.
Yeah. I did do some videos for Ryobi.
What, you actually did videos of you cutting your own grass in a Ryobi thing?
Yeah. They didn't use much of what I
His pasty white legs walking around the grass at the back.
So it was for their Christmas campaign leading into the Christmas just gone. Because I'd done these videos about my lawn and my backyard and stuff.
I'm in the comments too going, Ryobi, how we ever get a start for James?
So one of their, they have these marketing agencies that they employ. One of them reached out to me heading into Christmas just gone, asking if I'd be interested in doing the campaign, and had to come up with some video ideas. And anyway, they agreed, and then they're like, okay, well, let us know what equipment you need to record these videos. And so over the space of 2 weeks, all of these Ryobi boxes were being dropped off at the front door. I got all of this stuff from them, did all of these videos. And then what they ended up posting online was this tiniest little bit of the videos that I recorded. I'm like, you mean you gave me all of this stuff to use literally 3 seconds of these videos that I recorded? But anyway, so I got a whole bunch of Ryobi stuff. But yeah, the grass in the backyard and all the rest of it, I watch a lot of these kind of garden videos and stuff myself. I'm like, you know what? It's the financial advisor in me. It's a reasonably new house that we moved into. We knocked down an old house and built a new one there. And so when we moved into it, it was just a dirt block. Outside the backyard was just dirt. So I spent all of this money and time and effort in fixing up the backyard. I don't want to then just waste it, have it go to ruin. And so I spent a bit of time maintaining the grass and the hedge and so forth. But I end up with, people will come in and I'll have meetings with them, and very often the parting comment that they'll say to me is that they love the grass, keep up the videos. You get the odd person, no one said it to my face, but they send it in the DMs to say, look, I really like your finance stuff, but pay no attention to the grass stuff. I couldn't care less, and I just go straight.
Block them out, Jimmy. Block them out. All right, they're the haters.
They're not my. If they don't like my grass, then that's it.
That's giving me inspiration. I'm telling my wife I love fishing, and I'm just gonna go posting videos on TikTok to become the next James Wrigley. And then
Yeah.
I'm just going to be throwing out a fishing rod saying, Shimano, over here, boys.
But the
Start
thing is,
sending
like, the
some
thing is,
hooks.
around in terms of like working with clients and so forth, clients want to work with people that they like. And so,
Yeah.
you're fishing and so forth. You need to like them and they need to like you. And, showing your fishing or, the garden or the grass or the camping or whatever it is that you do, that's just showing a little bit more of you. And it'll attract the people that like fishing and go, oh, actually I could do with some financial advice, and Lionel, I can have a chat about fishing with Lionel as well. How good's that? And then they'll seek you out. And then there'll be people that say, no, I can't, fishing's, cruelty to animals and all the rest of it or whatever. They'll have a problem with it and then they won't seek you out. And
Yeah.
you know,
That's a good thing about the social media online. I learned this over in at our conferences that we go to with the MDRT, which one day James will be coming to,
you're
Matt.
keen to try and get me to it.
Actually, James, Matt's coming to Miami this year.
He wore me down,
First,
James.
and
This big
I've
cold
worn
he
him
speaks
down.
of.
He's coming. This year is going to be pretty cool. There's a number of advisors going over this year. But yeah, I learned about that brand awareness, about having that likability type arrangement through social media and having a platform. And video is the one thing that allows people to get to know you first before they actually come and buy from you. So they actually want to like you first, like you said.
Yep.
So yeah, it's one of the key things, and you've really done it well, and you're kicking it off. Is there what's the plans for the future of TikTok for yourself? Is it just keep doing you and
Just keep doing me. I don't know.
yeah.
Different plans, different opportunities and things come along, like to do interviews and different things. So there's always something exciting that comes from it. But no major plans to stop it or change it or anything like that.
Yeah.
Originally, James, you said it was more for business development, getting more clients in. Now, is it more educating people because the flow of numbers are probably coming through? Is it more education and sharing your knowledge, or?
That's it. So yeah, there's lots of client inquiries that we get through it. So it's good from a business perspective on that sense, yes. But back to your kind of earlier question about like the satisfaction and what's kept you in financial advice and so forth. I realized a while ago, I can only help so many people on a one-on-one basis, but this is a means to be able to help thousands of people at one time. Some people that can afford financial advice, some people that can't afford financial advice. And I hope as a result of all of this, I'm just making people that little bit better with their money, helping them, help them make slightly better decisions, help them have a slightly better outcome, help them understand something that they maybe didn't even know that they didn't even know it. And that's what kind of keeps me going with it now. It's helping make the world better and from a money sense, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, no, I had the same comment today from a client that came in. He said, "Oh, what's your Facebook video?" And I've learned more from you on your videos in the last month than I have from my financial advice for the last 10 years.
It happens all the time.
And yeah, but that sort of just gives a bit of a appreciation for you of sticking it out and doing it for yourself, because you've inspired us as well to keep jumping on the bandwagon and posting and stuff like that, because everyone else, other advisors are building up their brands and are helping other people in their communities and the people that follow them as well. So, mate, hats off to you. You're killing it. You are the #1 advisor on social media in my eyes, James. All right. And this Superman podcast is going to take you back to the top. And on that note, mate, well, thanks for jumping on for a podcast on the Superman podcast today. We appreciate you and giving us your valuable time. And if you like the podcast, make sure you like and subscribe to all of our platforms and share it with all of your friends. And we'll be definitely sharing the shit out of this one with Jimmy from First Financial and the TikToker himself. Thanks, James. Cheers.
Thanks, James.
Thanks,
Thanks, mate. Cheers.